Welcome to Pain with a Purpose, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, redemption, and purpose. I'm your host, Chris Woods, and each week we will sit down with guests who have faced challenges with substance abuse, mental health, and recovery. But we're not just dwelling on the past. Instead, we'll explore what keeps them driven towards a purposeful life. Join us as we navigate the journey from pain to a purpose. With that, dude, welcome back to Pain with a Purpose, Season 1, Season Finale. Episode 20, which
Wow.
I still can't believe I even did this many of them, but thanks for coming out, dude. Matt Amato.
I appreciate it, man. If I would have told me 11 years ago that I'd be on a podcast, I would have.
That's right. Is the 11 years today?
Nah, it's next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
God willing. Dude, that's huge.
Yeah. I'm on a podcast with the Hulk Hogan of Roxborough.
Yeah, which is hard to believe because at one point, like, I was not. I didn't look like this. Yeah, definitely really happy you came out because we have like a ton of comment. We're going to jump into a ton of shit, but
yeah, this is my I'm happy to be here for many reasons. It's cool to be a part of this. I don't get out of the house much.
yeah.
And you know, this is something that like I always thought it'd be cool to do, but like to be honest with you, I probably never had the fear holding me back, like what others are going to think, you know? So when someone steps outside the box, I kind of respect it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I mean, I remember, and I've talked about it on previous episodes, but it's like, I used to like put up like motivational like statuses or like really early on in sobriety.
Yeah.
And somebody from the recovery house would smoke me in public, right? And I was like, all right, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And that was like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And since then, like I've been like, sure, I've definitely been like an advocate for recovery and pretty outspoken about like my own personal journey, but I would have never done something like this until, you know, most recently I came back around and I was just like, dude, like who fucking cares?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
what's it really matter anyway?
it doesn't.
You know, at the end of the day, like I'm the one that's got to like be with myself. And if I'm okay and I know that my intentions are pure, rock out.
It's better to live doing something that you tried rather than thinking back like, oh, what could I have done?
Well, and I'm that guy for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I look at you. I'm like, oh man, I could have did this.
Yeah. And, and the truth of the matter is, and I say it all the time, it's like, I got no clue what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, we just figure it out and we ask for help, dude. Like I still have people that help me with this whole thing.
Yeah.
But enough about that.
Yeah.
So 11 years next week, God willing.
Yes. God's willing.
Clearly, if you can't tell by the accent, he's not from Delco. He's from Morel Park. So another MP1 guy. He does, in fact, have the tattoo somewhere.
2.
You have 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the other one's Johnny Butler, all them, they're nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. I mean, they got 1. Morel Park, born and raised in Northeast Philly, right?
Yep. My whole life.
Burnt your life to the ground in Northeast Philly.
Burned my life to the ground in Northeast Philly. Got sober in South Florida. Now, unfortunately, I live in South Jersey.
So before we jump all the way, because we got a lot to talk about South Jersey. I mean, you got sober in South
Have you ever met
Florida?
a cool guy from South Jersey?
Nope. Yes. Craig Schubert.
Okay.
I respect the shit out of that kid.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him really early on in my sobriety and he fell off, right?
Mhm.
Went back out. And then to see his comeback story, it was, I don't know if you know Craig, but
I know him a little bit. Yeah. He's done some work at my job.
He overcharged you.
Out of
We're
my,
not going to edit it out.
yeah, out of my ballpark.
Yeah. You said, yeah, it's on
I'm
the
not
company.
a finance guy.
You said it's on the company, dude. We bumped those numbers. Yeah, so he's great. But other than that, South Jersey sucks.
By the way, I'm kidding about that comment.
With what?
South Jersey.
I mean, are we?
Ah.
But yeah, so you did a number of, it's not like you just went down there for a couple months. Like you did, I remember when I first met you, I was like, you did how long? And then I was like, you came back?
Yeah, it was my 4th treatment center. You know, when it came time to discharge, I sit with my case manager, therapist, come up with the discharge plan, and like recovery house was going to be the option, no doubt about it. And it was, I had burned so many pieces to the ground at home, so it wasn't like I had a job to go back to. It wasn't like, you know, like I had this girl and this amazing life to get back to. So it was, the option was Levittown, which is like, you know,
Great spot.
Yeah, great spot. A lot of people got sober there, were South Florida. And I was like, option B. And I don't know what I can't remember what happened at that point in time, what led me to that decision, but I did it, and it was the best decision I ever made in my entire life.
So when you made that decision, you were already local, like you were local to here?
Yeah, I was in Tremont at Miramont this last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's when they put you down there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. They put those same options in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is weird, sitting on this side of it, not knowing why the options were the options. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand that now. So you obviously went to like a really good place when you left.
Yeah. I went to a cash pay halfway house called Rural Recovery. I was in Delray Beach, Florida. And I say this all the time, like I got on a plane and I went down there and I didn't know a single person from a hole in the wall. Right. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, there was no calling this guy or that guy for $10 or a place to sleep on. There was no like, you know, this is Matt who used to like play sports in the neighborhood, who everybody knows, where like you could always have a little come up here or there, where like at the end of the day, he's a good guy, you know, give him another chance. It was like, go down there, get humbled. You're a nobody. You're a loser. You know what I mean? Pull up to the recovery house, and it was like this huge property of like 15 to 20 townhouses that held like 6 to 7 people in each. And everybody's out there smoking a cigarette, having a good time. And, you know, I pull up and I'm like, who are these weirdos? You know what I mean? Being from Northeast Philly, of course, like I'm judging everybody. You know what I mean? They're wearing like a Crooks and Castles t-shirt. I'm like, what the heck is that? You know, loser.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, like after doing some work, you know, like I come to find out like every time I feel like that, it's just because I wanted to feel a part of. Right. You know, and I get down there and I don't know anybody from a hole in the wall, but I knew what I had known from my experience up here was that AA worked. Right now, like, did I ever work AA properly? No. So, you know, I talking to some people, feeling some people out, and like, you know, just coming up the way we did, you know, who's real about this and who's not. And, you know, I found some guys that were going to a men's meeting. It was like my third day down there. I went to this men's meeting and, it was a bonfire meeting outside in Delray Beach, Florida. And, I happened to be wearing a Morrell Park t-shirt that night. Right. Coincidentally enough. Yep. And, some dude came up to me who was wearing a Keenan's Wildwood t-shirt. You know, he had just worked all 12 steps. He was like 4 months sober. He was fresh. He was hungry. He was eager. And, you know, he approached me with like the desperation to want to help somebody. He was like sponsee hunting essentially, you know, and, he came to my recovery house 2 days later. We sat down and like, I had a taste of AA before again, but like, I say this to people all the time now that are just getting sober. It was like, I never had the ability to be completely honest with myself. And, you know, if I can't be honest with myself, I can't be honest with you. Right. And if I can't get vulnerable with what's really going on inside of here, then I have no chance at this thing, you know, and that's my story, you know, and, I sat down with him and I told him like, yo, if this doesn't work, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. And like, he gave me enough assurance that like, if I do the proper steps and I do the proper work, like it will work, you know? And, you know, cause I used to like, I don't know about you, man, but like, I have this like chronic ability to like be like, you know, cynical about things, you know, and like I would go into AA, you know, and you hear people talk about steps and God and all this stuff. And I'm like, my head goes like, what the hell does a moral inventory have to do with like drugs? You know, like how is that going to stop me? You know? And it never registered. I overcomplicated this thing so much for so long, you know, and, you know, he simplified it for me. And it was like the first person in my life that like, you know, I had the ability just to unleash everything that I was thinking and feeling and going through on a regular basis and never feel like judged, you know what I mean? And we're like, never felt like, oh, dude, I like, sometimes you would preface it like, yo, you're not going to believe this one, whatever. And it would just laugh, you know what I mean? And like I say this to people all the time too. The 3 best words I ever heard in AA was like, I get it, you know? Cause like you have these crazy thoughts, you know, you're just getting sober and you see all these people with their lives together inside the rooms. You're like, you know, I'm like, I'm a fat loser. I'm never going to have a girl. I'm never going to have a house. I'll never have a kids. I'll never have a good job. I'll never. And you share that with like, and for me, I had to share all those things with somebody in my life. Yeah. You know, and he gave me the space to do that. And he gave me the, you know, comfortability. And then like, I found a group of guys in AA down there who were about this thing. And like, my life just took off, you know? And like you said, man, my plan was to go down there for 6 months just to kind of, you know, freshen up a little bit. Yeah. And I stayed down there for 6 years, you know, and which is when
I was like, and you came back. But yeah, I mean, it blew me away, right? Because I always thought that, like, when I think of Florida, right, like I think of two things. One, they go down there for a short stay, come back, or they kind of just get like lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and not because of like bad treatment or anything like that. It's just like I got lost in the shuffle up here.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's very easy to down there. You know what I mean? There's resources and there's
up here as well.
Yeah, because you know, when you're around a bunch of people who are trying to get sober, there's also gonna be a lot of people who are trying to get high. You know, so then you rally together and like, who knows what can happen, you know?
And I don't know why I was placed in the position that I was when they did send me to Levittown, right? Because like, as much as I went to a structured house, right, those people in the structured house could have been not really about much. Well, and like, God forbid, like, you know, you put me in there with my old mind frame and I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Well, you know, you look back and you see all these pieces that connected that led to you getting sober, right? Like, if I didn't meet this person who introduced me to this person, like, A, maybe I'm not sober today, right? B, it's like my life has took off in so many different directions because of recovery, whether it be with relationships, with friendships, with jobs, with, I mean, anything, you name it, you know, buying a house, buying a car. It's like, it's all due to relationships I built inside the room.
There's so many variables.
Yeah.
The entire person that I am today, flaws and all, right, is because of AA, right? Not
flaws and all. It's a
not
good
saying
one.
that my flaws are because of AA. Like, I brought them with
I've
me.
learned some of my flaws from people in AA.
Well, you that too. But I'm fairly certain that my flaws are absolutely, you know, like, I brought that shit with me.
Yeah, of course.
But all of the good stuff in my life, absolutely, whether it be AA and ACA, doesn't matter. Just recovery in general, right? Like, is because I watched somebody else, and like, for some reason, them being like a respectable person looked more attractive than what I used to think was attractive.
Yeah.
Which is like, you want to talk about a change of perception. Like, you know, talk about a power greater than myself. Like, dude, like, you know, we could get deep, dude.
Yeah.
You know, because like, if that's the case, like, I always wanted the life that I had today, for the most part. Like, I don't like any of the shit that goes on.
Right.
But I like the idea of the life that I had today. But like, I didn't want to do any of the work. So like, I always just went back to like the easier, softer way of like, what I thought was what I really wanted was like a couple dollars in my name, you know.
I just wanted to wake up without the obsession to drink and use drugs. You know what I mean?
That was never going to happen.
No,
that was never going to happen. Right. And someone sitting much like in our positions today, they were like, listen, I promise you, it goes away.
Yeah.
I'd be like, nah, it doesn't.
It's not much different than things I'm going through now. You know what I mean? I used to wake up, and before my eyes were even fully open, I'm like, what am I doing today to get on? You know? And, you know, and in the early parts of sobriety, again, I have this like disbelief that like, you're telling me the truth. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, you're a little full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not buying it, but like, you know, with the right people and the right message being passed along to you at the right time in your life, like, it just resonates and something just takes off.
Yeah. And I don't know, there's no real rhyme or reason for me, at least. Right. I don't know why I was what do they call it? God's grace, right? Which is an unmerited gift. I don't know why I was gifted God's grace when I did.
Yeah.
I am glad that I got sober when I did, because I'm fairly confident that like, if I was out there today, I'd be dead.
Well, we're talking about a lot of pieces that add up to getting sober, right? That outside of the work, right? And we're talking about the work, but it's also these other variables, right? And like, do you ever have these moments where you like almost get anxiety and the chills because you're like, why me, right? And like, there's been so many other people that we both know, you know, who.
So I was at Murph's cornhole tournament the other day, and his sister asked me to say a few words, and like, I didn't know what I was going to say, but like, I did say in passing, and I hope it was received well, but and I didn't mean it in the sense of like anybody that was on the other side that quote unquote is like normal or doesn't struggle with this thing. I didn't mean it in the sense of like, they didn't make an attempt to like hang out with him or see like the sober Murph. But I was like, if you guys could have like really seen Murph, right? The way that like we saw Murph when he was happy, joyous, and free for like whatever brief amount of times or multiple brief amount of times, it was second to nothing. Yeah, you know, I mean, my man could like walk in, see the most traumatic thing, and make you somehow laugh.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I was like, you know, it was also his biggest downfall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, dude, like we, you know, I don't know why. I don't know why I got sober. I know why I wanted to get sober, but I don't know why I personally got sober. There's people, I was talking to somebody today. Somebody went to treatment one time, right? Still sober. So that is possible.
Yeah, of course it is.
For me, it was 10.
Yeah.
For you, 4, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be everybody's story, but like, why did I receive God's grace then, right?
I'm thinking about it now, and I'm still perplexed a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, everything that you like rattled off about what you, like your fears, right?
Yeah.
Like you were like, "God, kids,
Yeah.
car, you know," and I'm like running down the list and I'm like, oh, he's got that. He's got that. He's got that. He's got that. Like, and it's all stuff that like early on, it was like my fear, right?
Yeah.
It was like, well, what about, I'm fear of being alone, right? Fear of not being alone.
What about, the opposite fears? I had a fear of leaving Florida, right? I had a fear of staying in Florida.
I had a fear of being successful.
And a fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fear of relapse and a fear of sobriety.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do I live in that space?
Well, I mean, listen, now we're going on a whole tangent, right? But it was like, my sponsor put it to me. He was like, do you have everything that you need right now? Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
And he's like, forget about your bank account and where it's currently at. He was like, do you have everything that you currently need right here, right now? And I was like, yeah. I mean, like I could go for an energy drink, but like, he was like, no, seriously, like you are going to like go to bed tonight and like, you're not going to get leaked on. Like there's not going to, and I'm like, yeah, I live in a recovery house, dude. And then he's like, cool, but you have like, yeah. And the point was, I have everything that I need right here, right now.
Now with like, I'm a decade sober, right?
Almost. Yeah. God willing.
How do I get back to that space?
That'll be,
you remember when like Chipotle,
that'll be episode 21.2.
I remember when Chipotle or an iced coffee were a luxury. You know what I mean? And I think about that and the privilege problems and the disease of more that I have, right? You know, my friend always says this, and I say this line all the time. It's like, the only thing worse than an alcoholic not getting what he wants is an alcoholic getting what he wants, only to realize that's not what he wanted. And it's like, you know, you just named off all the things that I was fearful of. And I'm sitting in the parking lot talking to you before the podcast and being like,
and we're just talking life. Yeah.
My life stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. Yeah. And that's, I mean, listen, what a gift, right?
Yeah.
What a, like, I mean, I guess like a normal person, or we say it often, right? Like what a privilege problem. Because I came in here and I sound like a broken record, but I came into AA. I didn't know how to make a phone payment. You know what I mean? Like my mom was still flipping the bill for that.
Yeah.
The hero that I am. I'm like, you know, God forbid you tell me about myself. I'm like, watch how you talk to me. I'm a grown ass man. Who pays your phone bill?
All right.
All right. So you did 6 years.
6 years.
And then probably like 6.5. Like we came in contact when? And I mean, obviously we played a lot of softball. Yeah.
We definitely met heavily through the softball community, if that's what the word is. I moved back November 2019, and I think we started connecting more probably the spring of 20. You know what I mean? Playing softball. You know, that was a kind of like those years were, you know, when recovery softball was booming, you know, and there was a ton of young guys. I met so many people through recovery, through softball. Well, through softball, through, you know what I mean? And vice versa. And it's like, again, that's where your connections just continue to grow. You know what I mean?
Is it safe to say that Matt Amato coming back from Florida was the downfall of the URSL?
It's when self-help took over back to back.
Listen, if the heavy hitters could have kept it together, we would have been a problem.
Yeah.
We could have played on a national level. You would have heard all about us.
Right.
Shout out Nicky Miller.
Yeah.
But so I mean, the URSL was great.
Yeah.
Right, for me, because like you came back at 6. Like I was playing URSL as like an infant in recovery. You know what I mean? So like it was like people are doing this and like taking it serious. And I was like, I found my people. And then there's like, you know, whatever. We could talk about that forever too. But then we started traveling.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Well, you don't think like, again, like, you know, the things that you think that sobriety will offer you, you're going to sell yourself short, right? Like I used to think that like, all right, yeah. So at first it was like, I just want to wake up and not drink or drug every day. Right. And then it was like, will I ever have fun again? Right. And, you know, then you're traveling around to places across the country playing softball with 10 to 12 guys from this area, just busting balls, laughing and having a great time. And you're like, how did we end up here? You know? And, you know, like the people that you meet and the connections you build, and especially in this area, I feel like, because like we have a very unique way of bonding together, right?
Yeah, it's not received well everywhere else.
Nah, it's tough. You know, you start busting people's balls and they're like, dude. I'm like, dude,
I like you.
I like you. You know?
Yeah. It's the truth though.
Yeah.
It's definitely the truth.
Yeah.
Dude, but then my first trip, and I don't know if it was to Worlds or to Florida or if it was maybe even, I don't know. Right. But like, I remember my first trip to, it was probably Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. And sober.
Yeah.
Right. Now granted, up until this point, like I had been on a plane a couple times. Right. But I went all the way across the nation to play sober softball. Right.
Yeah.
And I would have to talk to like my people that don't get it. And they're like, I'm like super sober.
Yeah.
I'm traveling across the nation for softball. But seeing the recovery community out there and just realizing that like my recovery, our recovery really, right, is so much bigger than like me. You know what I mean? Like this thing is like really, really deep, and seeing how like, and like we were, for all things considered, like we played on a team that like, we weren't going to the meetings, right? Like we were out there, like as much as we were out there for recovery, like we were also out there to like have a good time.
Right. We also were probably a little over the top in terms of wanting to win, you know, and there's some people you meet from like the West Coast who are like, they truly just care about fellowshipping and having a good time together. And you're like, am I missing? Like they get it more than I do.
Spent $3,000 to get out here, but what do you mean? I'm coming home with a ring. Yeah. But like, dude, that was a blast.
Oh, it's the best.
And then, you know, I say whatever I say about him behind closed doors because it's closed doors. But next thing you know, I'm like rooming with like Tyler Boker.
Yeah.
Right. Love the guy to death. Didn't know him from a can of paint up until that point. But like, I remember him when I was going to treatment, coming in and speaking. We were talking about life going full circle. The next thing you know, I'm traveling the nation with this fucking dude that I used to look up to that I was like, this guy's fucking lying. There's no way he's sober. Clean. Sorry, Tyler.
Clean.
You know, and then to find out that he's just like us.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean? He just lives by principle.
Well, that's what I realized a lot too when I lived in South Florida was like, regardless of how we grew up, where you grew up, and all these other factors, there's some differences there. But at the heart of all of us who are in recovery and getting sober, we are sober. Like, dude, we're all the same. You know what I mean? There's like so many characteristics and traits of each other that like you can just get down with, and you can talk to people and connect with people if you allow yourself to. No matter where you're from, you know, religion, race, creed, whatever orientation it is, you know, it's a whole like, and even more so. And I think in the past 10 to 15 years, is there's this whole recovery community that is, it's been like, the rug's been pulled out. So like, is that the word I'm looking for? We're like, it's out there, you know what I mean? And we can talk about it. Not that, and it's like something that's like, you can be proud of. You don't got to be shameful about it. You know what I mean? And the celebrities are talking about it. Athletes are talking about it. And it's just there, you know?
So first was the substance abuse. Now it's going to be like probably mental health, right? Like, because you're seeing the celebrities start to talk about it and like the severity of it and whatnot. And it's like, hey, you're late to the game. Been dealing with it for a little bit here.
Right. Well, it's like Tangent, right?
Yeah.
URSL, right? My theory is part of the reason it's no longer here is because how many young kids are getting sober nowadays compared to what in our generation? And I'm not saying they're not willing to get sober, but it's just you're not seeing it as much. You know, like you work in this treatment, you see a lot more middle-aged alcoholics, post-COVID, we kind of call it, you know, and
I don't hit nearly as many meetings as I used to just because of the way that like my life's set up and like, you know, I have like, you know, responsibilities at home and whatnot. But like, even when I was going like religiously, like, you know, not missing my home group, like, where's the newcomers?
that was what I was going to bring up.
Like we were fired up about it, dude. We started a new big book meeting. We were getting down to the solution. 4 or 5 of us would show up every week in, week out. And that was it.
Do you remember when you were like through your steps and like, you know, you were like, go get a sponsee, right? Like easy peasy, you know, back then. Nowadays, it's not saying it's not but it's just not like you could walk into any meeting in this area, South Florida, whatever, and there was a new guy there who needed your help. Right. I walk into meetings now, you know, and like oftentimes there's not a new guy. Yeah. You know?
And if we were to really get into it, like what are we really talking about in the meeting? You know what I mean? And like, that's like where I kind of don't align with like all of the message in AA, right? Where it's like, I don't need to go to a meeting to talk about my problems. I have like a support network for that. Of
course.
I would much rather talk about like causes and conditions and like talk about why I tick and why I actually still need to come to places like this. But that's again, a whole nother topic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny as you get the more time you get sober, you develop, and you know, I think with like an open mind, you can start to have an opinion about certain things in AA, in work, and whatever, and like not allow it to hold you back from like being a part of AA, but to be like, that's not necessarily what I'm here for. My cup of tea. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Sometimes I go to AA and I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? We're just sitting here hanging out. But like when there is that new guy there, am I more focused on my like boys at the meeting? Or am I trying to actually seek out that maybe that one kid who's there?
Listen, and I've been on both sides, dude. Yeah. I've been on both sides where it's like, and we'll get into this in the next part, but like a lot of times, like for AA, especially, I don't know, 5 years ago, like AA absolutely was a safe haven where I was just getting out of my house, and I was just with a couple guys that were like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I might have shared, and I might have like been honest, but like really, I was there just to like be around some guys.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, I get it.
So we'll jump right into that. Yeah. So no, with that, I'm going to take a second here, just to do the whole fucking, YouTube thing. Right. Cause I got to tell these people, like smash the like button,
like and share,
like and share the whole nine. So we're on YouTube, Pain W Purpose at Pain W Purpose, all other platforms, YouTube included, but Spotify and Apple, Pain with a Purpose podcast.
Pain with a Purpose.
Gonna try to switch it up next season. Don't really know what that looks like just yet. I'm thinking more of like loved ones, right?
That's cool.
Maybe some like addiction professionals and seeing how they, or maybe we do or don't align type deal. With like lived experience, all the way to like what's written in a book, maybe.
Well, to that point, I mean, I'm not going to talk about work, but with my job, we in the past 2 years, I think we've dove into more just treating the family members just as much as the patient, as best as we can, right? And the results that we've seen from that, it's profound because, like, A, are they part of the problem, right? And
most of the time, even from a loving standpoint, yeah.
And then B, how can they be educated and helped to know there is a solution for them and their loved one, right? And then C, they need healing as well. You know what I mean? They need a place to go to talk about how addiction has impacted their life and their relationship with that loved one, son, daughter, husband, wife.
Yeah.
And it's
a huge part of it.
Oh my God.
Huge part of it. To this day, and I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm going to say it. My mom still has yet to go to a, what are they called?
Al-Anon.
Yeah. For reasons I don't really understand, but whatever. Like her journey's her journey. And
I think there's like a stubbornness in a lot of old school Philly people. My mom, the same way.
Well, I think she has like maybe like a distorted perception on like she thinks it's a very dark place, and it's not.
No,
if I understand it correctly, it's very much like a beacon of hope.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, like there's stigma that surrounds that too.
Yeah,
love you, Mom. You're the best. You know what I mean. Still, anything I can't even come to mind right now. I love you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like getting out of the house. You know what I mean?
Are we vaping?
We're vaping.
Yeah.
I mean, you're juuling, so that's not even considered a vape. I don't know how you afford that.
I don't even know.
So most recently, right? I remember. Let's take it back. I don't know. A year ago, right?
Yeah.
You broke the news. You're like, hey, Melissa, right?
Yep.
Your girlfriend. You're like, me and Melissa are pregnant. I was like, dude, congrats, man. That's fucking awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. Cause like, we had talked much in depth about like a bunch of stuff. I was like, you excited? You wants twins? And I was like, and you had the wrong one. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Cause I have twins. And I know severity is not a good word for it. But like the
gravity
of it, right? Because like,
well, you didn't do a really good job of like really painting the picture for me.
Paint it for me.
I don't even remember what you said, but like, honestly, I don't even think you could have put into words what it was going to be like. Right. And I'm not trying to paint a negative picture here. It's just like, everyone, how do I say this? Ooh. It's, it was the wildest experience. And I give Melissa so much credit because we had a lot of trials and tribulations prior to that.
Yeah.
You know, a couple miscarriages. So if anyone's going has been through that or is going through that, like, you know what I mean? I know, you know, every doctor's appointment, how you feel every time you walk in there, what that feels like. Being there for your loved one, you know. But what was I saying? Yeah, like no one, honestly, I'm, you know, joking around. No one can prepare you for what that's going to be like and what that's like. Cause like I remember when me and her were trying to have a baby, right? And like in a relationship, obviously you have some communication, but like, hey, this is what this is going to look like, you know? And, you know, I was pretty content.
You never think that. You know
But
I mean?
I've been around a little bit now to know, like, all right, let me have an open and honest conversation about like what your expectations are, what my expectations are, and like how we feel about this, and this, right? And you know, and I felt good about our conversation, about our communication, and we went in and we, you know, like I said, had a couple miscarriages along the way, and then she got pregnant, and I remember she called me and she's like, "It's twins." I'm like, you know, awesome. I don't know what you think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, there was still that part of me was like, all right, this is early, you know what I mean? And
yeah, because well, you also had previous experiences with,
yeah,
you know,
and you know, once you have two, those conversations about what was expected and what
out the window,
done.
It's a tag team from there on out.
Oh man, you're never you can never play zone defense on the babies. You know, at best you're playing man to man, and that's tough. You know,
if they're behaving the way we need them to, right? And it's still early on.
What are
right?
the chances two of them are doing that?
It's short lived, and it'll get better. It will stretch out and get longer. I promise.
It hasn't. There's been a light the past couple of weeks that like I'm like.
Then they'll start moving.
Yeah. Oh, one is already.
Well, once they're up, brother. Shut it down.
Yeah.
I remember when we found out that we were pregnant, Kel had just started a job with a company, and her insurance didn't go active yet, right? So we're in Levittown, and we go to the women's clinic on Veterans Highway. We walk in there, and we're like, hey, I mean, this is where we got to go, whatever. Doing the ultrasound, I'm still coming to grips with like, I haven't met her father yet. You know, I haven't met, you know, like we haven't told her brother yet, who she thinks very highly of, right? Like I haven't told my family yet. And then there's like this tech in there that's, you know, again, at a no insurance, like women's clinic. Doing the ultrasound, and she goes, yeah, I'm not sure, but like, I think there's two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hon, get your boss right now. What do you mean?
Don't say it like that.
Yeah. And she comes back and she's like, yeah, congrats, it's twins.
Yeah.
Kel immediately starts crying. Right. I don't know if it was happy, sad, but she was crying. I laughed.
Same.
I laughed because I'm like, how are we about to do this? You know, because I know me, like about to walk into like some, you know, like fatherhood. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this with one. And then you just dump two of them. And, you know, the truth of the matter is like, it does get easier. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. It's hard any day for us. It's
no different than sobriety, man. It's like, there's days, man, I got to just breathe, you know, and just take it one day at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Let me get to the next bottle, the next nap. You know, let me make it to my bed tonight. You
got to just make it through breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And we're saying like, and let me just like rewind the tape here. Like, once you hold these two little babies, we both have two girls. It's the craziest experience ever. It's the most beautiful experience. It's it's just wild. But like, I don't think there's any way to be prepared. Like, I can't even imagine. I've never had one, but I can't imagine what it's like being a new parent with one. Right. And then two. I mean, I know what that's like now, and it's like, you know, there's the aspect of taking care of your family, taking care of your kids, taking care of your significant other. There's the aspect of like, we want to talk about alcoholism here. We want to talk about selfishness. It's like, you know, like you build a life for me for 36 years, and like my life was pretty good, you know. Talking about softball, I haven't swung a softball bat all summer, you know, all spring, not once. And like the selfishness that really comes to light once you have some not some children. You have 2 children, you know, and you'll get to know yourself on a level I feel like that you never knew yourself for. And my flaws have come out dramatically. My strengths have come out dramatically. Like there's situations I've handled amazing. There's situations I could have handled better. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's, yeah.
And we're only 6 months in, so it's going to get great. But yeah, I mean, dude, like you saying you're going to learn yourself to a level you never knew, right? The truth of the matter is like, I don't know, you know, how people always say like, are you ready? Are you ready for your kid? Like, I don't think we're 7 years in. I don't think we're still ready.
Yeah.
I think you just get hardened. You get hardened in the sense of like, we've made it this far. We're going to continue to figure it the fuck out.
Right.
You know? The truth of the matter is that like, yes, when you're like, and as they get older, dude, and you're seeing it now with them being like, you know, they're not toddlers, right?
No.
They're still infants.
Yeah.
I don't know when that cutoff is.
I don't know. What is that cutoff?
They have neck muscles.
Yeah, they're sitting up kind of. Sometimes they'll lean over.
They need a job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, so those, and people always said it to me, and I was like, and you won't be able to comprehend it either, right? But like, soak it all in now. Mm-hmm. Because now, like, you know what I mean? It's nuts.
I know.
I got cartwheels going on in my house all day.
Yeah.
But dude, like seeing them grow into these little girls, and be respectful little girls is like, it's fucking insane.
Did you feel like, early on, like, am I showing them doing the right thing to get them to that point to be respectable girls?
No, and I've said this in multiple different times. So the only thought that I went into it with is that like my dad was never really like a part of my life. He was, but he definitely wasn't. He suffered the same way we did. He just never got sober. My thought was like, I'm never going to be him. So I will always be there. Right. What that looks like on any given day. Nobody gave me the manual. Right. So like,
well, man,
you know, I just do the best I can. I do definitely have a very short tolerance. Kel will tell you, right? She probably hates it.
Yeah.
I know she does when she flares her nostrils. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, nothing. I'm like, you're lying.
They know, you know, they're tell more and more when you have kids. Oh man.
Yeah. But it's great, dude. It's absolutely great. It's a lot. But at the end of the day, like I have a very full fucking life.
Oh, and again, like I for all the shortcomings and strengths that I've shown in these 6 months, like the only thing that I tell myself is just show up every day. You know what I mean? And like when I got sober and I was like, the one thing I've done right this whole time is be honest, right? And like I don't believe in painting a picture of like my life is so great because I just had babies and I have a house, a great job, and all that stuff. Like, no, you know, like there's you know, there's days where like I'm with my daughters and there's not a smile on my face, and it's not because of them, it's because of me. You know what I mean? It's because I'm not doing what I want to do, right? But there's also like on top of that, there's this whole paradox about fatherhood, and I don't know if you experience this. It's like there's times when like all you want to do is like be at the gym, playing softball, playing golf or something like that. And then like, you know, you have an opportunity to do so, you know, with your partner, your wife, girlfriend saying like, yeah, go ahead, do this one time. And like, you're out there and you're like, I feel guilty. I should be at home with my daughters, you know? And it's like, so then you're like, where's my space? Like what am I? Who am I? I don't, you know, like,
and I might get in trouble for saying this, and that's okay too. But like it's and it's never a spoken thing, at least in my house, right? So it's never really a spoken thing, but it's like it's always in the back of my mind, right? Like the clock is always, it's never going away, right? Like the clock is always going to be like, you know, especially when I go to the gym, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I gotta, you know what I mean?
Oh, you still feel like that?
Yeah. But like whether, and I don't know if it's just like an internal defect of mine, but for me, it's almost like a level of respect where it's like, I gotta get the fuck home.
Yeah, of course.
I've been out of the house for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know? And you better believe that she lets me know that I've been out of the house for 2 hours.
Yeah. If you want to be held accountable.
Yeah. She lets me know.
Yeah.
Like, where were you doing? I'm like, I'm sorry. I got talking. But yeah, I think it's and early on, it definitely was a thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like softball. And so I'll deny that I ever said this. She ain't going to watch it. But like I shouldn't have played half the softball that I did.
Right.
strictly because like I was out of the house. I mean, like imagine that, like, dude, the tournaments we used to play in,
Yeah.
even locally,
all day.
and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? I
Yeah.
get 1 day a week, and it's like, dude, you know what I mean? I don't know, I never said it, but I shouldn't have been doing that. But again, like I was a little bit younger when I had the kids, so I think the level of maturity probably wasn't there. I was definitely probably like more selfish at that time.
Right.
But again, man, like these kids, they're great. They're just a lot, right? Like, and I don't like pull any punches with that. People are like, oh, they're so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, they are. They're a lot.
They're amazing.
They're a lot.
Yeah, they're a lot. Like, you know, when, you know, it's not like the movies when like people are, you know, a baby's eating a bottle when you give it the bottle, the baby's taking a nap when you put him down. Like, they're not showing you like, hey, what about the time the baby's just absolutely refusing to take the bottle, absolutely refusing to go down to bed at nighttime? And then you got her sister, you know, what is she doing? You know, it's like, and it's funny, like every time you think like you're getting a little further along with one, you know, the other one maybe has like a little step back, you know, and this is like a twin thing. And again, like I always go back to like, I've had people in my life who I'm still honest with. I still stay connected with on a daily basis, and because I can't make as many meetings as I did. And it's like, yeah, like I don't want to do it every day, dude. Like I'd be lying if I did, you know. I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. letting her sleep in a little bit, you know, because she's going to take on the whole day and be like Superwoman with the babies, you know. Like I don't want to do that, you know. I'd much rather be in bed. I'd much rather, you know. But like again, like sobriety, thank God I was told early on, it's not always what I want. It's not what I want to do. It's how I show up, when I show up, how I show up. And I don't always show up great, but like I do show up, you know. It's
So there's a guy in Northeast Philadelphia, might know his name, played a huge part in my sobriety, whether he knows it or not. I know that we're not supposed to put people on pedestals, dude, but this guy's just like salt of the fucking earth. And I know that he has his flaws, and I love him for it, right? But his name's Ricky D. And he said something so profound, right? And sometimes I use it as a weapon in a joking way, but usually to kill. But it's like, when's the last time anybody asked you what you wanted? You know what I mean? And like, we're taking it out of context, right? But like the truth of the matter is like in the third step, when I like made that decision, I signed on that dotted line, right, to do God's work. Wouldn't God's work entail me to be a father to the best of my ability?
For sure.
Even if that means like not hitting the usual meetings that I want to go to just so I can hang out to get out of the house.
Right. Well, he's got to look at the motive too behind it all. It's like, I can easily, like we were talking in the parking lot, I could like use it as a scapegoat to be like, hey, I need to get to this meeting for my, like, where's my, like my relationship with God, in my opinion, should be enough to carry me through this time.
Absolutely.
You know, to not just go to the meeting and hang out with my boys, you know, like, you know, that's for me, my opinion of my sobriety, you know, and it has been up to this day. Again, like, you know, it's God, like 6 months in, and I don't even know I still don't know what's going on, man. It's a whirlwind. And like, I've also been able to understand, the strength of, a woman with children and babies, because like that, like, especially early on, man, like the love that I thought I felt for them, it's not even remotely in the same ballpark as the way the mother, Melissa, has felt about them, and the way that they care for babies, you know what I mean? And you were talking about your mom earlier, in a way, it's like also come full circle for me, where even like my relationship with my own mother has kind of shifted a little bit with this, you know what I mean? And the way she's shown up for me and Melissa, and her mom as well in these times, because it's like, you don't know until you know, you know?
Absolutely. Hold on 1 second.
No problem. We're gonna edit this?
Yeah.
Oh, nice, perfect. So
You can do whatever you want. Whatever.
Referral.
Yeah. Your sponsor, Brandon Novak. We're not editing it. We're gonna let it rock. No, I'll edit this. So but yeah, I mean, dude, the twin thing is great. It's biggest blessing, biggest pain in my side at any given day.
Mhm.
But like I said, I don't pull any punches, right? Like people are like, oh, they're great. I'm like, they're a ton of work. They're great. And right now they're like 7, right? So like although they're respectable and they're really nice and they're great in public, you should see them at my house. Be a fly, right?
Probably nonstop, right?
Yeah, and like my house like doesn't echo, but like it like if like I don't know how your house is, but like if they do a cartwheel, it thuds, right? I don't do well with the noises in general, right? I think Kel knows that because she swears she doesn't. She slams the shit out of the cabinets.
Oh,
just kidding, Kel. But yeah, so like when they do cartwheels, I'm like, I'm like, do one more cartwheel,
yeah,
and I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
And she assures me it's just like a girl thing, and I'm like, cool, but like not in the house.
No. It's funny the quirks you'll realize too, because like the way my one baby cries versus the other, it sends like something. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, and the other one's more of like and the other cries like it like sends like a feeling in my body. I'm like, oh man, like I don't even know what to do now.
It is cool that you gave your one baby like the North Philly blowout though. I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but
she went to Ann's on Frankfurt Ave.
She got a little shape up, a little $3 shape up. No, dude, listen, at the end of the day, right? I can bitch and complain about everything in my life.
Everything.
It's literally all the blessings that I'm just like not seeing clearly.
It's perspective. It's not.
Yeah.
It's the fundamentals of recovery don't change as you get sober. It's just like, I think at times we get tainted with more experiences that lead us to a better perspective. And at times we get tainted with experiences that lead us to a worse perspective, and like, the worldly clamors, you know what I mean? Social media, like especially like, listen, like when you're up in the middle of the night with, twin babies and like, go on like social media and you see the freedom that other people in your life have, you'll start to go to a dark place sometimes,
Yeah.
And, but like, again, like to bring a full circle, right? There's people out there who would give their right arm to have babies, and I've been through that a little bit. So I can, I have a little bit of experience with that, and like, but we don't think about that in the moment, In
the moment, it's so much different. In the moment, it's so much different. And listen, like we could go on a whole tangent, right? Because like the parents are always going to tell you what you should be doing, right? Or the grandparents, I should say. And like they did.
Well, everything that worked in the 1970s is 100%
illegal. Can't give kids alcohol anymore. Nor do we have it in the house.
You can't.
Melatonin was our best friend. But like, listen, I don't know, maybe I was blessed and I have faith that you're going to be blessed as soon as they can, they're just going through a rough patch.
Yeah, I think.
And then they're going to get out of it and then they're going to teeth.
Oh, well, one already did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's like there's like
it's just going to keep going. Brother.
Well, like there's also like a subsect of parenthood inside the twin parenthood where like, you can go through things and you're like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like that, like, not to differentiate us, but like it's different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It definitely is.
Especially when you go through like a teething of one, like, and knowing in the back of your mind, like, oh, I got still one more to go through that.
Yeah. Dude, my daughter at 7, right? So I think her molars are coming in. And she was crying so bad the other night. And it was like excruciating, right? Because a 7-year-old crying compared to a baby crying, right? 7-year-old can tell you exactly how she feels.
Yeah.
And she said something like, why would God do this to me? And I'm like, oh my God, like what the?
How do you answer that?
You're growing up. You're growing up. And we try everything, right? We do the children's Tylenol, like the ice pack. She was just so worked up that she wouldn't stop crying. But yeah, dude, it pulls on the heartstrings, like for real, because there's nothing you can do.
Dude.
It's tough. And there's Grace, like, suck it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, Grace, don't.
Yeah. And then we were talking outside, and one of the blessings of having two, again, we talk about it, is like, I have 2 different personalities already, The one that they came out, which is the craziest thing, and one was very identical to me, and one was very identical to Melissa.
Really?
Oh, nuts! Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, you didn't notice that?
No.
Everyone always is like, oh, that's your, and it's the lazier one's me, which is not true in real life, but the other one that is off the wall running.
Melissa.
Yeah. She's very needy, of course. You know what I mean? Probably is gonna,
Melissa, he forgot to say, and not true in real life. But shout out to her.
Yeah.
Right? Because imagine, you know what I mean? I said it to the outside, right? And I was half joking, but half serious, right? Because it goes into that original thought of like, yeah, like I'm always looking at the clock, right? And I'm always like, shit, I need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, listen, I know, right? Whether we're done in a half hour or whether we're done in an hour and a half, it's still going to be, you know what I mean? Like you're walking in from the house, right? And she was just with the girls. Good, bad, or indifferent, right?
You talk about the time, and you're like, I'll do the mornings, right? I'll wake up, change the diaper, feed both of them, and like I'll let her sleep till 8:00, and I'm like 7:52. You know what I mean? Like I know 8:00's coming,
dude. I'd be like,
and I don't even think about like for the past 6 months, she's been there every single day. I go to work, right, and like, that's one of the things that we argue about. Like, oh, you get to go to work. It's like, well, I'm also carrying us, right? It's like no one wins that argument,
yeah.
But like, I couldn't even imagine. Like I don't know, respect to I don't know, the mothers out there that have that, it's just a love that like there's something there that like, I started to feel more and more and more recently as I started to develop a level of personality. But it was immediate for them. Immediate. And like, I don't even think I can comprehend the way a mother loves a baby. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's everyone's experience, but that's been my experience. So let me rephrase there. But like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how Melissa does, I should say, like every day, all day long. There's no like, the most break you're getting is like a mom coming over. And then when the mom comes over,
they're both down for a nap, if they're both down for a nap.
And if that lasts more than sometimes 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes an hour and a half.
I mean, listen, we don't want to get too dark here, right? But like, that's like, and that's the truth of the matter.
Dark.
And this is like what I think a lot of parents that maybe have like one at a time might not really realize is like, we would put the babies down, right, for a nap. If we got them both down at the same time, huge success.
Huge.
Now the fuse is lit, right? Much like my sobriety, if I'm not doing what I got to do. But now we don't know how long it's going to be, right? So now you're on constant edge, right? That's why I always used to joke around when I would check in with you, I was like, you in therapy yet?
Yeah.
Because like, it was crucial for me.
Pending doom is the term I use. It's like,
and not in a bad way, but it's just like time to clock back in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You think it's like, it'd be like working the hardest job of your life and your boss saying, all right, go on break. And you have no idea when he's going to tell you to go back into the trenches. That's a very weak analogy, but it's
it's being real though, right? Because, we both love our children, right? But like the truth of the matter is like, it definitely, it plays a very serious toll on your mental health, and it's not talked about often. And I feel like, who knows how this is even going to be received if who's listening, right? Because they might be like, you ungrateful. I'm not saying I'm ungrateful.
No.
What I'm saying is that, and don't get me wrong, they're 7. So like, we've kind of made it out of that like really rough stage that you're currently in. What I'm saying is that like, it was really, really hard.
Yeah. I'd be lying to you. Like, I've, I think we've both experienced some really dark moments. Right. And like, even if you would have told me what it was going to, even if you painted the perfect picture for me of what it was going to be like early on, right? Like, I don't think, not that I wouldn't have been able to comprehend really until I was fully in it, right? Like, when I tell you, like, for 6, like, you're talking about a nap, right? And it's like, I don't even like, my break during the nap is me sitting there while they're taking a nap, because like, if one of them goes off, my goal is to scoop them and run so it doesn't set off the other one, because if I have 2 babies who didn't nap well, no, no thank you, experience it. I'm good on that. Learn from that one. You know what I mean? Bedtime, the same thing. It's like we put him down 7:30. Like I go to bed, and it's not because like I necessarily want to, but it's because like, hey, I get some sleep, and there's like that pending doom of like if I can't get comfortable downstairs and like watch the Phillies.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I'll watch them on my phone. You know.
Yeah.
But like, you just don't know. You know, you're at the mercy of two babies that have no control over their emotions, right? And like I'm supposed to be able to control mine. And again, I've done that very, very well at times and not very well at times. And
I mean, yeah, listen, you and I both.
yeah.
And then on top of it, you gotta stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You gotta stay sober, you gotta take care of yourself, and you gotta like, you know, routine, right? Like there's no routine right at this stage. Like we're just
right
starting
now, it's very much up in the air. Yeah.
We're starting to try and put some pieces together to like figure out like, hey, how can I get to the gym more often? How can she get to the gym more often? And how can I get some time for myself? How can she get some time for herself? And it takes constant communication, constant pivoting, constant change where like this comes up this day where it's like, you know, you got a job, you got two babies, you got a significant other, you got family, you have, you know, everything. And everything has gotten thrown to number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and number 1's the babies all the time, right? And you know, like I again, you're right. I don't think people talk about that enough. Is like it can take a toll on your mental health, right? And like for a while, I probably was like not doing anything about it. You know, it was like almost like there's that pride and ego where you don't even want to admit, you know, that like you need help or you need to do this and a third. And it's like, again, I got to take it back to early recovery. It's like, all right, let me be honest with people in my life. Maybe there's some people who can help me. Right. And like how family has shown up for me, how friends have shown up for me. You know, and how you gotta it's taking a step to be like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, dude, like I started getting back into some step work. I started getting back into, you know, I'm going to sound stupid because all this is like some fundamental stuff in recovery, but like setting aside time in the morning to pray, giving myself, like I drive now and I don't listen to music. I don't even try and get on the phone. I just try and sit with myself and talk to God for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
listen, if that's going to change the perception or like give you a new lens or let you have a new experience with the day, then like that's what we got to do, right? Like I do recognize that, you know, there's days like most recently, right? Like if I get smoked at work, like I just had like a really busy day at work and I'm still like a 21-year-old kid when it comes to being in the car. You know what I mean? Like I'm like that guy, right?
Yeah,
like,
I heard you when we were pulling the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm like that.
You're like
guy.
Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Yeah, you never had your car. But I like blast music. That's just like my thing.
Yeah.
Usually not the most like respectable music, you know what I mean? Because like I like to live in my head and I like I'm going to my 9 to 5 and I'm talking about like, you know, everything under the sun that my recovery doesn't let me do. Suggest I shouldn't do.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, dude, there's times where I'm just like, it's not even a thought. Like I don't even put it on. And I'm just like, next thing you know, I'm 20 minutes down the road. I'm like,
right.
Fuck, I'm smoked. All I needed was silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you know, I walk back into the house and then now that they're 7, one of two things happens. One, they're watching their show and you can't fucking break them.
Right.
Right. Cause they're just glued. And I'm like, yo, dad's home.
Right.
They're like, right. Or they come running up and like give you the biggest hug. And they, you know, I think they're sometimes messing with me, trying to make me feel better.
Yeah.
But like, that's like the joy, like that's like the bright spot of my day sometimes.
Right.
And you'll get there. Much like sobriety, right? Where it was like, I promise you, right, that like this obsession will pass of drinking and drugging. I promise you there's better days ahead.
Well,
right?
I ask people all the time, like, when's it get better? When's it get better? And like, yeah, everyone has a different answer. And it's like, I'm looking for an answer that's not real. Like, there's no real answer to that, right? It gets better when my perspective gets better. Yeah. This is God's honest truth, right? And it's a small win. You know what I mean? Like I said, I take care of the morning and like when I'm changing Sophia's diaper and she's waking up and she's looking at me and she has the biggest smile on her face and she recognizes her dad and I'm her dad. Dude, there's nothing like that, you know?
Yeah.
Pause.
Hold on. Yeah. How long have we been at it?
I don't know. What time did we start?
No, we were talking for a good bit, so I have no idea. We'll do like 10 minutes when we're rolling.
Yeah.
So
Are we
enough,
doing
about,
good?
enough about the twins, dude. It ain't that deep, dude.
Yeah, nah. Listen, it's
Unreal, Melissa. This guy.
Yeah.
I had to take my shot.
Yeah, I mean,
she ain't gonna listen. It's okay.
If she could just, give me a break sometime.
Yeah, unreal. Let him hit the links, dude. At least 3 times a week.
I know. I'm not Superman.
Nope. I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say
I say it too often, dude. I was gonna say,
and this is probably not their thought, right? But this is how I perceive the female's head in this situation, where it's like, that's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not, Melissa, I swear to God, I don't know you from a can of paint. That's not what I'm saying.
It is.
But you know what I mean? Like, and that's, again, that goes into my own selfish shit where it's like, am I asking to do too much? Right.
Yeah.
Or am I not doing enough? Right.
Well, that's another thing that you really start to question is like, am I being, because like, we all need to take care of ourselves, right? Which requires us to do things for ourselves that give us some sense of peace, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, is this selfish or is this needed?
In this day and age, I mean, like in this time for you and Melissa, right? Like you'll come up with that list, but it's probably needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, right? Kind of trying to like think outside the box, right? He did actually just tell me that he was going to send you to the spa for a full day, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Right.
But like I had to do stuff like that early on. I had to do stuff like that, right? Like, hey, like just go, right? If she's anything like Kel, it'll be like months before she actually goes, right? Because like
it just started to kind of become like, for like. Day one, I wanted her to trust me to take them in the car, go down the shore, hang out with them for a couple hours, like being exaggerating, but like she was like, no. And I'm like, but I'm their father. You know what I mean? And like, the first time I did it, I was like, yeah, nah, she's right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not built. I'm not quite ready.
Did I ever tell you? I never told you this. Did I ever tell you the story? I lost the twins.
No.
In my own house.
Really?
Yeah. So you can't call DHS. First off, disclaimer, you can't call DHS on me right now. Okay. Because it's already come and gone. They're healthy. They're at soccer practice right now. They love life. Okay. They're safe. So early on when we bought our house, right, the kids were 6 months, 7 months into like really being able to walk.
Yeah.
I had a good buddy of mine. Because I needed a guy to look at my air conditioning. Right. He's in the upstairs, like duct work, but like there's an attic up there that I didn't know of. I'm like, well, I own this house. I should probably go up there and at least see it.
Of course.
Now I'm down there. They're at the stage where they just love dancing all the time. And I have surround sound in my living room. So I put it on. And I put it on pretty loud, thinking that like, no way they're not going to stop dancing. I go up there. I go, it can't be more than 4 minutes, me being up there. Right. I come down. They're gone. Yeah. Now I think they're fucking with me.
Oh, no.
Right? Because they do.
Yeah.
They're early on where like they'll hide behind the couch. I'm in every single room 27 times. They're nowhere.
Right.
Now I'm outside. My neighbor at the time was my tech in rehab. Right?
Nice.
Talk about life coming full circle, right? He still has remained sober and like now he's like a buddy, right? He's out there with his wife. I'm like, yo, have you seen my kids? And he's like, what? No, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm dead serious, Joe. Where's my kids? He goes, fuck. Okay. Now I'm running I live in a cul-de-sac. Now I'm running, right? And I have a wooded area behind my house. So
no.
I go behind the houses, don't see them go behind the house. I go back in my house and I'm starting to look through the rooms again. I'm like, they wouldn't have done that. Right. Next thing you know, it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes later. 2 cars pull up. Right. It's my across the street neighbor. And just, and actually it just happened to be like my neighbor, like a couple houses down. My kids were like ran away. Right. And we're like just on the corner.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was probably cool to tell your wife.
First day she ever let me be with the kids.
Oh.
First thought, alcoholic thought was like, she'll never know.
Yeah.
Never going to tell him.
Oh, yeah.
Until I played out the tape and I was like, well, God forbid the neighbor's like, close one yesterday. So I had to tell her, and thank God she was as understanding as she was. Because I were like, there wasn't any foul play or anything like that. Like, should I have maybe, I don't know. But they were quick.
That's what's so scary, man. Is like, now you're like, who would have thought 10 years ago you'd be responsible for other human beings, you know? And that doesn't register to me every day. It's like, you need me to hand you this, like, you know, like it's every little mechanism of their life right now is contingent on
you showing up.
Yeah.
And being a dad.
Yep. Yeah.
So like when you guys delivered, right? And I don't know, like, were you ever in the room by yourself with the twins at one point? Or like, did they immediately go like skin to skin and then they were there?
Yeah. No, I wasn't by myself. It went from in the what is it called? The operating room. Yep. They took them for like 4 minutes, cleaned them off. And me and Melissa walked back to like your regular hospital room and they went skin to skin. You know what I mean?
So I don't know why it was different for us, but like, so we went from the operation room, right? They wheeled in the twins.
Right.
And the nurse was like, I'll be right back. And it's just me and the twins. And I'm like,
yeah.
And me, the nut job that I am, I'm like, well, what are we doing now? I'm talking to these two kids. I'm like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, the internal dialogue's going and I'm like, fuck, dude, I am a dad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, both these kids are mine.
Both. What about like when they, I don't know about you, but like prior to going back to the operating room for us, it was a C-section, right? So I sat in a hallway by myself for about 20 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if it was just probably because it was mainline health and they're good. But it was quick. Like, you know, once they took her back, next thing you know.
Were you by yourself at all prior to like
I was by myself
delivery?
For about, it almost felt like maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. I was for like 15 and it felt like the longest 15 minutes of my life, and like everything was just like from getting sober to like losing friends to family to like, it just was like all these thoughts and emotions were rushing through me, and you're just like, am I built for this? Can I do this? Am I, you know, like and
the truth of the matter is, it's going to sound definitely corny after everything that we just talked about and how we went on a million different tangents, and we probably lost every single listener we had, but that's cool too. Is like, dude, I didn't come this far to get dropped right here.
Yeah.
You know, I felt safe, right? In the sense of like, everything's going to work out. And then I walked back there. And then when I walked back there, I don't know why they walked me back the way that they did. But I saw everything. And then they went past the curtain and she was like, they get started. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're right there.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, really? And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the kids were born, and I was like, holy shit.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the most surreal moment of like life.
Yeah.
Ever. Them holding up, this is your daughter. You know what I mean? This is your daughter 2 times. And being like, then them like going to there, they weigh them real quick, and you're like, can I touch them? I'm allowed to hold them. Like, you're the dad, you know?
Yeah. Like I know what I'm allowed to do right now. And that's the thing. When I cut the cord, I only cut the cord on the one. I don't know which one it was, because there was a lot going on for all you sticklers out there.
Yeah. Sorry.
I didn't know that it was that tough.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like a bitch. I was like, hold on, let me readjust here. Hold on. But yeah, after the first one, I was like, nah, you got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot, man. Greatest gift of my life. It was out of body experience.
That was an out of body experience, and just like seeing even a woman's body at work in those moments, you're like, whoa, how is she? And then you're holding 2 babies that way. Ours weighed close to 7 pounds each.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Full term.
Shout out, Melissa. That's the third one.
Third.
Wow.
Yeah, that gives me a day out.
You're using it right now. But yeah, so yeah, we were 5. We were like right in the 5s. So like 5'2", 5'3".
Yeah.
And then we thought that they were making like these little grunt noises, and we were like, listen how cute they are. And they were like, yeah, they can't breathe. Oh. They're going to the NICU. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally, like something out of it. I was like, this is how parenting's going to go.
Oh my God.
We thought that was cute.
Yeah. And then, you know, that first 3 days in the room and then coming home, it's just like, you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people are sick of us talking about twins, but like there's like a community of us. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, I mean, they can be sick about us talking about twins all day. It doesn't really matter, right? But like we started off the show, and the show's called Pain with a Purpose, right? It's very clear that your purpose now is to be a twin dad.
Wow.
First and foremost, right? And I don't care if this contradicts any hardo in any type of recovery fellowship. Doesn't matter. it's very apparent to me that my main purpose in this world is to be Gracie and Maddie's or Maddie and Gracie. Because if they hear that, they'll fight about why I said one name first. Their dad, right? Anything other than that comes second.
When you feel that though, like, let me ask you this. Do you feel like, is that responsibility, not from like a standpoint of like showing up, but the responsibility of like, I'm tasked with showing them how to navigate this world, right? Does it feel like a lot sometimes?
I mean, absolutely, especially with everything that's going on in this world.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, like, I try not to watch the news, right? But like, yeah, it's scary shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's really, really scary stuff. But yeah, both, right? One, like I said, I'll never be my dad, right?
Especially going through what we went through, right? Like, and then, you know, if you're around Truman long enough, you hear a lot of like inner child stuff, right? And it's like, am I going to be able to let my daughter's inner, you know what I mean? I know I'm going like a little deep.
Here's the truth of the matter is that like I've spent enough time in like a clinical setting to know that like I could do the best job in the world, paint a perfect picture, right? And still fall short on it because I know I'm not going to be able to. But like if somehow I was able to like carry out what it was supposed to look like to a T, that doesn't dictate, you know what I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, right? I'm there to like love the shit out of them, and good, bad, or indifferent.
I think that's like at the root of it. That's all. That's the most you can do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Again, there's no manual, right? Is there going to be stuff from their childhood, and like they have a pretty good life, right? You know, but like, is there stuff that I'm going to say or do that they're going to take with them? Which may not be the best, maybe. I don't know. But again, like...
But is there also stuff that you're going to show them and teach them that's going to help them flourish in this world? Probably.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
My work ethic being one of them, for sure. You know, I'm also going to carry that into like, you know, I tell them, right? Like many of the podcasts, if they watch the YouTube, might not know. My kids like bust my balls, right? Like, because I got fake teeth, you know? And I'm like, well, you know, listen, I got fake. You want to know why I got fake teeth?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's because you're giving your mother a hard time and you weren't brushing your teeth. They don't even know that, like, it's because I was doing, like, heavy narcotics, right? And, like, this was, like, the last on my priority. But I also tell them, like, hey, you can do anything you want in this world, right? But, like, school's a very important thing. A lot of my stuff is lived experience, and I've been gifted in the way that, like, yes, like, we're able to live a life that's, like, really cool. But I work my fucking ass off. And I don't think I really should have to, or I wouldn't have had to if like, don't fuck it up now, you know?
Well, I think too, like I was going to ask you, I'm not trying to interview you, but
no, it's fine.
Like, we both have girls, right? Like, do you think navigating that as a father, or like trying to show in this day and age girls how, you know what I mean, how to navigate and walk through life is something you have to think more about or less about, or like...
So I said it to Kel the other day, not the other day, like midsummer or early summer, right? And we were on the boardwalk and I'm like, Kel, no, no, they're not, you know what I mean? And most recently I started like a side business where I'm doing like content stuff. So I'm like, you know, I've been like covering some of these like high school football games. And I remember me in high school. And now like looking down on it and I'm like, Kel, no, like, and I don't know what that's going to look like. I really don't. I can only hope that like they can have a well enough head on their shoulders to know like what's good, what's bad, and what's right and what's wrong. And even if they're doing something that's like what's wrong, like be able to talk to Kel about it if they're not comfortable talking to me about it. Because there's stuff even now at 7 where like I just don't feel comfortable. Like they're still like my baby girls, right? But like now they're 7, right? And like I've started making comments around them, like, "Yo, put a shirt on." You know what I mean? And they're like, what? She's like, what? They're girls. I'm like, they're baby girls. I'm like, put a shirt on, dude. Storm doors open. Okay. You know, so like, I don't know what the answer is for that. I know that like, I'm going to try my best. Right. And like, whether it's, you know, right, wrong, I have no idea. I know like what my conscience is and like what my morals and values are. And I also know like what my morals and values weren't at one time. So I think that might even like distort my thinking a bit.
I think you said something though that's pivotal, and I think it's something we learned in recovery, which is that like, outside, we said one thing was like giving them the space to love them no matter what, right?
Fuck's that say? That's fucking phenomenal.
Oh no, was that the whole time?
Nah, I mean we still got this, but yeah.
Was that
we got the majority of it?
Yeah, so it's just outside of loving them as best as you possibly can on a daily basis, is having them feel like they have a space they can talk to you or your wife about anything.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying I didn't have that in my childhood, but like it was a different time, man.
Yeah, I mean we didn't even talk really about like
Nothing.
our upbringing or really right, but like nobody told me any of the stuff that I really brought into like my early teens.
Mm-hmm.
It was all stuff that I inherited.
Mm-hmm.
It was all stuff that like I thought like, I mean, like if I want to be a man, I don't talk about it. Right. And like, if I wanted better grades or a better job or a better looking girl or whatever the case was, like you just buckle down, and you do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was never, although my mom was always there and always told me,
right.
I just never did it. Right. I just never talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Until I eventually burned it all to the fucking ground. And then I had no choice. And I was in a fucking recovery house and they were like, hey, that's actually what we do here. And I'm like, nah. But that is definitely the goal, right? To have them be able to like be comfortable enough with either one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us would be a bonus. Unless it's getting weird about boys and I'm like, dude, I'll kill somebody.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that, I think about even now, like scenarios of them coming up to me, like about this, that, how am I going to react? Am I going to be able to, I'm creating stories in my head, obviously, but the future tripping, but like, there's certain principles that I still want to, at the very least, live by. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a couple of those things we just talked about. And because, outside of that, man, like, does anybody know what the hell they're doing?
No, not really. And we're just like relating it to like the kids and everything like that. But like, it really boils down to, my main goal, right, would be like, God forbid I were to, move on, die, God forbid, you know what I mean? Like sooner rather than later, like what would people say about me? Do I have my flaws? Sure.
Right.
But I would hope that people would like know that like, like your dad was a good guy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like even to relate all of this, right? Like the podcast, you took a leap of faith and you're just doing it. No idea what the fuck you're doing. You started a little bit of a media company, taking photos,
Shout out New Lens Media.
New Lens.
We're on Instagram as well. New Lens Media. For all your small business needs and all of your personalized branding. We're here for you. Events, golf outings, whatever you need. Weddings. Yep.
New Lens. We have a new lens on life.
Do you know why? That's why I called it New Lens.
Yeah.
So originally, I have a partner, right? He's not in recovery, but like I wanted to relate it, and like I threw one in on him. He didn't know. I was like, all right, how about New Lens Media?
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, I actually like that. I'm like, because like new perception, new lens.
Mm-hmm.
I think what was the first one I came up with? It was like something. It was like 4/28. It was like the the girl's birthday. Yeah. That's not even the girl's birthday. I just made that up. Jesus Christ. But you're 100% right, dude. Like, it's just all things considered, right? Like I'm just trying to pack good into this world.
Right.
And not, and there's times, right, where I say stuff in front of the kids where I'm like, I shouldn't be talking like this.
Well, if anything, I think I want to be left to be like known as, we're not to be known as, we're talking grim here, but like, I was real. I was authentic. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I try and be in my relationships with people, whether it be friendships, partners, kids, well, hopefully with kids and friends, family. It's like, I'm not going to act like I'm perfect. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, try and paint you a picture of beauty. That's just not my style, man. I'm not good at that. Like, I'd rather be as authentic and real as possible to be like, dude, like, this sucks, or my perception of it sucks, where this is great in my life, this is going good, or, because that's how I stay centered and that's how I stay grounded. Because if I can't be authentic to myself, it starts there and then I'm authentic to you. It's like, maybe I can spread some good in this world. You know, when right now I think we're in a world where everyone's trying to keep up and compete with each other on a social media lens, or a whatever it is, you know, like,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because we can get caught up in all that stuff, right? And at the core, I know none of it works, right?
No.
It doesn't work.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I could get and have the most money in my bank account I ever had, and we're getting the best shape of my life. And I'm not saying that it's not good stuff for me, right? But the thing that's going to completely fill my cup, it's like, no, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we literally could do a whole nother episode on that. I know. Because like that's like a very real topic.
Well, let me just say this to you though, right? Because one of the conversations I had with Melissa early on was like, if we think that having children is going to make us happy, I think we're going into this with the wrong idea. You know? And it's added to my life, and it's added a whole new ability for me to love and to get to know myself. And it's been a lesson for me in a lot of ways. But like, if I'm relying on my happiness from anything, one thing, kids, wife, girl, job, money, gym, softball, golf, like, I'm definitely missing it. You know what I mean? And I'm definitely not happy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, listen, and Kel will be the first one to tell you, even like some of my closer friends will be the first one to tell you, like, I go through these things, right? Where like I go, if it's not money, right, it's the materialistic thing. If it's not the materialistic thing, it is how much I'm fixated on my children, or how much I'm fixated on my house, or if it's not, you know, if it's car, right, or like just like sports. The job, sports, right? Like I was heavy into softball, and then I was heavy into the gym. Like I have yet to find the balance yet for me, right? It's much like early sobriety, where it's like I'm going to throw a bunch of shit at the wall, see what sticks. I do that with ancillary stuff, right? You know, and I'm always on the go, go. You know, and I have a very, very hard time of like just sitting, right? And although I'm home, right, what am I doing when I'm home?
The wheels are spinning.
Am I editing footage, or am I editing some stuff that I just captured for like a client, or am I super fixated on like my daytime job, or am I, you know, so like it's tough, right? And then when it's not that, here's the sick part. I just dive into AA.
Yeah.
Right. And not in a healthy way.
Right. I know what you mean.
Like next thing you know, they're like, wow, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like I got 15 sponsees. Right. And I'm like not present at all at the house.
Right.
Right. So where's that balance? Right. But it's clearly written, and I just forget to actually live by it or actually see it. Right. It's as a better example, right? Is, you know, I'll botch it. I used to be able, Chris Brennan used to like, I used to make him so proud. I love Chris Brennan, by the way, but better example, right, of our sobriety or our recovery, right, lies before us in our respected homes, occupations, and affairs.
Right.
And I probably still botched it, right? But a lot of times am I really just basing it off of what my bank account looks like? Am I basing it off of how well I'm received at work, right? Or whatever it is, you know? But that's what I need to not forget so often, right? Is like, it's gotta be, right? God, family, then everything else.
Well, I think it's like this constant like assessment of all these things. And like, I've come to realize once I acknowledge that this was me, you know what I mean? Like that I was going to have a pop-up mole in my life where this was going to be it for me. This was going to be it for me. This was going to be it for me. If I had this amount in my bank account, or if I had this car or this house or whatever, I'd be good. It'd be the last piece of the happiness puzzle, right? Once I realized that that puzzle's never ending. I think I started to understand more that like, yo, it's okay, right? I'm never going to be perfect, and that's part of being human, right? But I need to be aware when I need to get recentered. I need to be aware of like, yo, you're being nuts. You know what I mean? I need to be aware to be like, this person's right? Where I need to be aware that like, whatever it is, you know what I mean? You know, it's like, even when we talk about recovery, right? Like, and this is my opinion. Again, I got to preface this with that. It's like we miss the mark sometimes, right? Like I got sober to build a relationship with God, and it's what it talks about in the literature, big book, right? It's not to do,
talk about it now. Don't hide behind it.
I mean, like, listen, it's not about for me. Like, it's about I build a relationship with God. It's about how I show up for the people in my life and how I'm of service to those people and alcoholics and addicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
outside the rooms,
anywhere, anywhere.
Yeah,
it's not all about like being of service just to the people in AA all the time, right? It's not just like you have to go to meetings, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm not saying this stuff isn't important, but like the way I was taught sobriety, right, was like you do the work, you build a relationship with God, and you have the ability to show up for yourself and other people, right? And that road's going to take you down a lot of different paths, right? And you need to be right with yourself to know where you need to be in life.
I was told, and it was very profound when I heard it, right? And I still carry it into my everyday subconscious, probably, right? Where it's like I go to AA. When I say AA, I don't mean the rooms, right? I go to this fellowship to work the 12 steps to get a connection with God. I go to AA, so I don't need AA. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And then I'm not co-signing like not going to a meeting for the next 7 months.
Well, it's
right?
a paradox. It can be like a paradox, right? And it's like, you're the only one that can know that.
Yeah.
Right?
I saw a meme on social media, so it has to be true. But it resonated with where I currently am in my life, where it was like, let's start to normalize the people that don't need a structured like type living. I need to be in this meeting, 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 like every single day to be okay.
I think
I jammed myself up for a number of years because I was told that if I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing enough in recovery or in my recovery. Everything was okay in my life except my subconscious, like, fuck.
Right.
And that's not okay. I shouldn't have to live that way.
No. And I like, if I'm at a point in my recovery where I think, what I need best, I'm probably doing something wrong, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm not going to take input from others because I that's what I do in part of my daily life is like, I seek guidance, right? And maybe that guidance is to get more involved into this part of recovery or this part of recovery, right? But if I'm just listening to people who have the same solution that worked for them 10 years ago, maybe I haven't grown, and that's just my experience, right? Like,
yeah.
And it's something that like, the only thing we have is our experience, right? And that's the only thing we can give to other people, right? I can't talk to you about like going through certain things in life that I've never been through that you've been through and vice versa, right? But like my experience is that like as long as I maintain that,
Yeah. Yeah. And by all means, if we still have anybody listening, we might have 1 or 2 hours left. We're not by no means saying like you don't have to go to meetings.
That's not what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? We're not saying that at all.
Yeah.
But I am absolutely in a place in my sobriety where it's like, again, my life is very full.
Right.
Right. I don't have the luxury, right, to like be in a meeting every single day. Sometimes even twice a week. Right. Like there's times where like I don't hit a meeting all week.
If you have the like, and this is, everyone's different, right? If you have the option of a meeting where your girls' soccer practice, like, what are we talking about here?
Again, I also got told that like I was coming to these meetings to become a productive member of society.
Right.
Right. And again, not to like play too much on the play of words things, right? But like, I didn't go through all this pain, right, to find a purpose with like having these baby girls.
Pain with a purpose.
And not show up to soccer practice, right? The kicker is I miss soccer practice for this. But like I had to pass because she obviously
this is a part of something you're doing
And
It's
she understands
bigger.
it.
Yeah,
She
it's
understands
bigger.
it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And like shout out because like, you know, I mean, forever grateful for that.
Mhm.
But, you know, like we're working on like the season finale, right? Where like we're doing this and like there's definitely a good break coming up, but I'm at soccer practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I am there for my children. Like I'm there at, you know, I'm that guy now with like a camera and a huge lens taking pictures of my kids.
And if you were to ask me, if you were to call me like, hey, like, what do you think? I'm like, your daughter's soccer practice. 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Now, if it was like this or like, you know, like going to watch UFC fights, I'm sorry, like soccer practice or like going to watch UFC fights, it's like, it's not even a thought.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just most recently, and we'll shut it down after this, I promise. But like, I most recently started like, with the UFCs being like on Saturday nights, right? I would go to like Johnny Butler's house a couple times and I would go in McDowell.
Right.
Shout out McDowell.
Yeah.
Young soul, that kid.
Wow. Young hopper.
And, you know, like, and they're telling me the timeline on like the night. And I'm like, hold on, fellas. I'm like, so you're telling me the main event comes on at what time?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, for lucky, like 12. I'm like,
nah.
Who's buying my Uber?
Yeah.
Because like I rode McDowell and it's 10 o'clock. I'm already ready to shut it down.
Brother, I'm lucky if I can get through Monday Night Football.
You know? So yeah, I mean, like I just don't have it anymore. I can't hang. But yeah, I mean, like it is what it is. Like I'm fortunate that like if I want to go somewhere, I can. But I ain't got it like that. I'm tired. You know what I mean? And the crazy contradiction is that even though I'm tired, I'll still find a way to be up late somehow if I'm in the comfort of my own home.
But I think as you grow and mature, you gotta but like I've come to understand, like this is where I always wanted to be. Right? I wanted to be comfortable sitting in my house on a Friday night doing nothing. Right? Like you go through periods where like you have all this FOMO and you feel like you need to be here, there, and everywhere. Right? But like the ultimate goal was always to be like, in early sobriety, you put me in my house on a Friday night by myself. I cannot sit with myself, right? And like I believe that's a testament to where I'm at, right? It's like, yo, can I sit by myself and do nothing on a Friday night? If I can, I'm probably doing pretty good.
Furthermore, like that's the goal at this point. You know what I mean?
It's the best.
Rewind like probably 3-4 years ago, and like when McDowell, I don't even know how much time he's got sober, right? But he's the only example I have. He'd be like, so what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What am I doing this weekend?
You see a lot of people like a couple years less than you, right? And you're like, he'll get there, brother.
Yeah.
You know?
And it wasn't like a fear of missing out. It was just like, he was like, so you don't ever, I'm like, nah, man. Like, go where? What do you want me to do? We're going AC? No.
Most times.
That's just where my life is.
Yeah.
You know?
Even now, a lot of times I prefer to even like watch the Birds game like by myself.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I had to throw a whole fit the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, girls, if you can't figure it out right now, I'm going to need you to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Because like, this is like
your time. Yeah.
No talking right now unless you're cheering. Okay. I don't need cartwheels going on right now.
Yeah.
But before we start going in a whole nother tangent, right? I've asked everybody, you're season 20, you're the finale. We're probably going to have to shave some minutes off of this. And I'm just going to pick out the best stuff, but this will definitely fall into the mix of like being in the best stuff. So like you went through a ton of pain, right? And we didn't really talk on much of it, right? Not that we really have to. But how have you turned that into a purpose? With the most recent events, right? Now being in the forefront of your mind.
You know, I think, I don't know if you or anyone experienced this, but like there was a point in my recovery where I felt like I was meant to be here. You know what I mean? Like I found outside of like helping me resolve my drinking and drug problem, right? Like AA taught me a way, and we just kind of talked about it, to be comfortable with myself, right? And once I was able to get comfortable with myself, like I use this analogy, like even before drugs and alcohol, if my life was like the shape of a pizza, I was always missing one slice, right? And like AA and recovery allowed me to put that slice back into my life, right? So my purpose because of that is to like, I think sometimes just bring some humor and some lightness to life. You know what I mean? Like we talked a lot about some heavier stuff, some lighter stuff tonight, but like at my core, man, I still try and be just a ball busting, having a good time guy from Northeast Philly who says like, yo, I get it, man, what you're going through. And I promise you it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? It might not be today, but all I can do is just tell you, like, just don't take yourself that serious, you know? And then furthermore, now, I guess in this new phase of my life, my purpose is like how I can figure out and do enough work on myself to be a good father. You know what I mean? And to try and show up for my daughters, you know, in a way that exceeds most. You know what I mean? And not saying it's a competition, but like,
well, it's not even a competition with others. It's like really exceeds your own expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because being from Morel Park, I don't know. You know what I mean? If you didn't know, you exceeded it.
Yeah.
Already. You've already did it. You're living it.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that that's like, you know,
no,
there's nothing wrong with Morel Park.
Yeah, no, it's the best.
But like the life that I live, the life that my kids live, already far exceeds what I thought was even possible for them.
You just brought up a great point. Like if moving to Florida, moving to Jersey, moving around, getting sober, meeting people from all walks of life. If I would have stayed in Morel Park forever, I don't know if I would have the experience that I have had. Oh, I know I wouldn't have, right? Like, so my purpose is also like to try and inspire people. Like, yo, if you want more, I can promise you there's more out there. You know, and I don't know what that looks like for you, and I'm not going to tell you because I don't know. But if you're not comfortable and okay with where you're at today and what you're feeling, dude, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, do a podcast, start doing photography. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, just something I've seen, and there's been some times where like the regret or whatever, but people who just took that leap of faith, like a lot of times it fucking worked, you know? And again, like, I'm not saying like, if I would have stayed stuck in like, you know, I'm okay, you know, going to Patty Wax on a Friday night, I don't know if my life would have ever felt full, you know? I don't know.
It probably wouldn't have, but it was like the main presence of like why I started Pain with a Purpose, right? So like sober's cool, right? Recovery's awesome. I wouldn't have anything without it. But I'm also allowed to want more.
Of course.
You know? And I shouldn't have to feel bad about wanting more. And I'm not talking about from a fucking monetary standpoint for anybody that may be listening, right? It's not about any type of like financial gain, right? It's like, what am I doing on my day-to-day basis after, you know, a number of years sobriety, right? To have more, and more, just more life, right?
I'm even experiencing, I just had this conversation yesterday where it was like, now that I'm a father, right? And my life has been crazy for 6 months, and I'm starting to see that there's going to be some light for some room in my life. Like, what's next for me?
Is this a good time to tell Melissa that you're going to Global? Yeah, so Melissa, Matt's coming to Global. I'm not even going to Global.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, I just want more life. That's it.
And I don't know what that is. Again, it doesn't have to be from a monetary end, you know?
No.
Maybe it's like, you know, I've seen people get into some cool hobbies at junctures in their life, you know, like.
Brother, I used to think photography was corny.
Yeah, I know.
Now I'm out there, no shame, dude. Big ass lens, the whole nine.
Dude, growing up in like, you know, like if you like played an instrument, you're like, dude, dork. You know, like how wrong were we?
Severely.
Yeah.
Some of the smartest people I know. Like, you know what I mean? Shout out Shane Smith.
Yeah.
I think he played it's definitely not, but I always say he played the trumpet.
Yeah.
He didn't play the trumpet. I think it was the drums.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I look at these high school kids now and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, the amount of like thought and attention that has to go, and like, whatever, we're just going on another tangent, but like, do whatever you want,
dude.
You know what I mean?
You know,
but you know what it was? It was the fear of being judged.
Yeah. And I think that's when we started out talking about that. It's like, you know, I'm the king of that too. I will bust everyone's balls. You know what I mean? But there's always like a little bit of jealousy.
I mean, I don't know why it just came into my head. We'll end with this, right? Like my boy Joe,
yeah.
Big time swimmer.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Wow.
I was like,
yeah.
Swimmer, huh?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Immediately went to judge and like, hi, big time swimmer.
Yeah.
Then you see him
like
at like, you know, like these barbecues and whatnot. I'm like, holy shit, dude, you really swam.
Yeah.
It sounded so weird, but like, no, like he whatever, dude. Like,
whatever,
you know, do whatever you want in this world. Right. And I think it was actually last episode where Stas said, like, recovery for me has been like my passport to life. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Whatever. And the things that I never thought were imaginable are completely imaginable, you know? And it's, there's no limits to this. There's no end. There's no beginning. There's just, you know,
peaks and valleys,
you know? I'll end you with one question. Do you do hashtag girl dad?
I don't.
All right, good.
No. Because it's very apparent at this point. It's the only reason half the time I still go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, God forbid I'm going to get beat up by one of their boyfriends. You know what I mean? We're girlfriends, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, so if anybody's still listening, right? Super appreciate you coming out. This is not like around the corner for you. You're not in Morrell Park anymore. You got to go over a bridge, whole nine.
Yeah. Pay a toll. Do a jug handle.
Yes. Jug handles. Anyway,
appreciate you having me out, Chris.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I've wanted to have you on for a number of, you know, I mean, I was almost like half afraid to ask that. I'm like, I know he's got a very full nightlife right now. And we ain't talking about you going to Noto.
Yeah, no, this is, I told Melissa, I'm like, this is my chance. This is my opportunity. You can't deny me.
You never know. You never know what's going to go viral.
Who might listen?
Could be thousands, could be nobody. Who knows?
Like, who's that stump in the chair talking?
Love me a good gamble.
I'm going to parlay myself.
So I'm going to take a few weeks off for, you know, from very selfish reasons. I just need a break.
Of course.
There's a lot that goes into this. You know, we're going to come back. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We'll be dropping some, you know, I don't know if it's breaking news, but like, you know, I'm going to call it breaking news. And then, you know, in the coming weeks here, but I'm hoping to start back up in like a month.
Awesome.
Switch the bit a little bit.
Yeah.
Have some different guests on. We definitely touched on like the pain with the purpose side of things, but now I want to touch on like others people's pains, right? Like not substance abuse.
Yeah. There's many different ways you can go with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll see you in a few weeks. If anybody wants to reach out, DM me, text me, whatever the case may be. But
like and follow.
Pain W Purpose on Instagram, Pain with a Purpose podcast. Just search it. I'm not even going to go through what we're on anymore, but with that, appreciate the support so far. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.